Bryan, Carman, and Paul Ahnert.
We're in. Welcome to Road Less Traveled. We are here with a man that needs no introduction. If you just heard that, you know exactly who it is. Rex Carroll is with us tonight. Welcome, Rex. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Bryan.
How's it going?
All right.
So, as we start, what's that, buddy?
Try not to be too excited. Anyway.
Oh, I know. So as we start off every one of our shows, we start off talking about three CDs or bands that we're listening to. Right. So Bryan, I know you've got yours queued up if you want to share.
All right. Well, the first one I want to give a shout out to a family. They're a bunch of brothers and a sister. And Benjamin Birdsong is the lead vocalist, and he actually did vocals with my daughter on our second album, Only Human, the song Who I Am. So the Bird Songs, I want to give a shout out to. Really cool family. They do a bunch of different music like jazz. They do hymns. They do rock and roll and everything. So they're really cool. Really fun to watch play live. And then I don't know if this is my favorite female vocalist or if it's Dawn. What's her name? Dawn from Fireflight. Dawn Michelle. Because they're just a little bit different, but Lacey Sturm, her newest album, and I can't pronounce this, Canodic Metatonia.
Sounds close.
Yeah, so she's really good. I just love her vocals. And then this band kind of stinks. I'm just kidding. I keep it in my car, listen to it on my way to work, and I wore the shirt tonight too. So.
Yes, I can see that. Excellent.
You've heard of them?
Yes. Oh, good friend of mine.
Oh, really? Yeah, I heard he's a nice guy. The cool thing about this is you guys, anybody that got this got it autographed.
Yeah, that was a big thing. We had you're referring to a pre-sale that we did. We ran it. We started in I'm going to say October of 23, and then the record actually didn't come out until March of 24.
Okay.
So in that period of time, there was after a certain date, they cut off the pre-sales. Right. And they did a package with the T-shirt that you're wearing.
Yep.
That is a one-of-a-kind T-shirt, and a bunch of people had said after the record came out, oh, we should get some more of those shirts because it's a nice shirt. We said no, because that would the integrity of the pre-sales, that this is a one-of-a-kind shirt. So
you have the shirt with this on it?
No, but we have we have well, if you go on the website at whitecrossband.com, they have all the different styles of shirts, and there's like 3 or 4, but there's a couple that are really popular, and but that one is a great shirt that you're wearing. That was like a pre-sale that we did, and it was great. It really helped us. We needed the revenue to help get over the hump to get the record done. And one thing I'm really happy with, I was against it at the time. I said, hey guys, a little 6-panel jacket is fine. And it was like, nope, it's got to be 8 panels, and there has to be an 8-page booklet on the inside. And I was like, oh boy, that's going to add to the cost. But now that we have it, I'm really happy that we do. And it took some work, to get that booklet together, but it's done now, and it came out really, really well. So I have like 0 complaints, and I'm very happy happy with all the songs.
Oh yeah.
I'm really happy with the songwriting. Very happy with how it was engineered. I love Dave, the vocalist, and and our good friend Anthony Fox in Nashville. He did the mix for us, and everything was wonderful.
I got the two T-shirts and the CD. So
yeah. I haven't played guitar in like 2 days, so.
Oh no!
You just had a show. You just did a show, didn't you?
Last week, yeah, but it was like an acoustic Christmas show.
Oh, okay.
So.
Hey, Dale Thompson just said hello.
Yeah, Dale just popped in
Right.
and said, "Hey guys."
I hear that Dale is back in the United States now. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Yep. Cool. So,
Hey Rex,
how long have you been back, man? Because
you remember this?
it's got a glare on it. Yes, of course. Yes.
And you did the mix on Mad at God,
Yep.
Kingdom of Heaven, and Your Enemy.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember you said to me when you sent me Mad at God, you go crank this one up. You may have said turn it up to 11 or something.
I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you doing that. That was so cool.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Dale said
Dale
5
says
weeks.
he's in 5 weeks. Yeah.
5 weeks. All right. Now,
Yeah.
is he back to stay? Is he back to stay, or?
Yes.
I thought he went over there, got married, and was like living the life of a retired worldwide jet-setting celebrity.
No, I think he's here to stay. If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken,
he's living with Troy and his wife.
Okay, all
right
right,
now.
all right. Well, Rolling Stone gathers no moss.
exactly. And he said he's getting ready to go out on their double album tour because that double album's coming out in 25.
All right,
We're going to tour it, so that'll be very exciting.
Yep, that'd be cool.
maybe we'll get some
Hopefully-
Cross and Bride Gates together.
I was going to say that would be a great ticket right there.
If you do, you've got to come to West Michigan.
Yes.
Well, nobody comes to Knoxville, so I'll travel wherever you guys end up.
What, Knoxville, Michigan, or Knoxville, Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm in Michigan.
Yeah, Knoxville's cool, man. I mean, I've gotten down to Tennessee a lot in the last year because we've been doing gigs with Petra, and thank you, Dale. Love you too, man. Was I've gone and just opened solo for them, and then I've also done dates with Whitecross and Petra, and they're very well known around Tennessee. I think did we play in Knoxville? It sounds familiar, like maybe we did.
I think you were in Cleveland. Maybe.
Yeah, I've been in Cleveland a couple times with them, and
Yeah.
well, anyways, the last show I did in November with them was in Cleveland. So
Right.
I know Dale's been with them, like they go down to Mexico.
Yeah, they got that big Mexico City tour
Yeah,
for show they did.
I'm sure that's nice. I'd love to get in on some of that.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure
Paul,
there'll be some.
You've got
Go
your
ahead.
3 CDs?
Yeah, I got my 3. I got. I want to talk about yours real quick. The Whitecross album there. I got to do Wild Man and Steve show
Yeah.
when that first came out, and we did a review of it, and we kind of talked about it. I don't know if you got to see that or not.
No, I
And-
did.
And looks like Dale's got 6 dates in Brazil. But I had told the guys that I was listening to it in my car as well.
Uh-huh.
And we'll get this because of our age, but our younger listeners won't get this. I said, if I bring a CD to my car, that's like Johnny Carson bringing a guest to the chair.
Yeah.
does a bit, and then he says, "Come on over and sit down." So
Yeah.
that's how highly esteemed I held that.
We
that
made
album.
it. We made it off of the performance, and now we've been invited to come and have a seat on the couch.
Yes, exactly. That's how much I love that album.
Great.
So
Yep.
for today, I've got Glenn Kaiser.
Okay.
From Resurrection Band. It's one of his solo blues albums. Love blues. I think anything that we listen to now is kind of rooted from blues, and so
Sure.
it's one of my big loves. And speaking of a bluesy rock thing from the past, Neon Cross.
Yeah,
I think they played Immortal. Didn't they play Immortal this year for you guys?
they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't get to hear all the bands. I heard some of them, and man, I'll tell you what, Kenny Tamplin, man, he tore it up.
Yeah, I heard. I had plans to get there. I had reservations at the hotel, and then we had family obligations came up for both events, and I missed them both this year. I was like,
Yeah, he was a killer. I'm just here to say.
yeah, I'm really sorry I missed it. Liberty and Justice. I don't know if you ever heard of those guys. They bring about everybody. Imagine. I think Whitecross has been on or played with them or done songs with them.
No, I don't think so. I think they did a thing with Scotty. I think Scotty came in.
Okay. Yeah. But they get all kinds of musicians to come and play and do stuff with them, and it's a pretty good stuff.
Yeah, Justin was a really great guy. He passed away some years ago now.
Oh, did he pass away?
Yeah, some years. It's been some time.
Okay. Yeah, I've been digging their music.
That was always a thing in the Liberty and Justice. And I asked him one time, I said, man, how do you get a hold of some of these people like Lou Graham and people like that? Because a lot of people put a lot of layers. When your celebrity status gets to the point where, you can't, like a Lou Graham really can't be on like Facebook. Okay?
Right.
You can't do it because
you
would just spend all day answering, corresponding with fans, and half the fans would be ticked off because you're not writing back fast enough.
And respond back.
Because you would have like 1 million people like every single day forever. So you can't have any kind of a life that way. So they have to put layers. You call the label and to refer you to the publicist and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. And eventually, if you're serious, he managed to get through to a lot of people. So hats off to him. It's great. Those albums were great. A lot of interesting mashups there, combining musicians from different bands and singers and things like that. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. So do you have 3 for us tonight?
Well, guys, I hate to break the mold, but, I thought about it, and favorite albums are really difficult for me because my brain is not quite wired that way. I mean, there's a couple of all-time classics, like Van Halen 1.
Yep.
That's probably a classic for most everybody. And, apart from like a couple of albums like that, I mean, Led Zeppelin 4 and, the Whitesnake 1987 album when that came out, I mean, some obvious things like that. But, as far as more recently, I'm just always chasing like a sound that's in my head. And it usually revolves around like an open A chord. Along with a riff to go with it, So I'm always chasing a sound that is just on the edge of my imagination on the guitar. But there's a couple of players that I've been following. One is a guy named Philip Sayce. It's spelled Sayce. He is amazing blues guitar player. Love him. Love my Jimmy Bell. He's another player. Have y'all heard this girl? Her name is Laufey.
No.
She had this huge bossa nova song a year ago. It reminded me of Sade, Smooth Operator, which is another one of my favorite songs. So guys, for me, it comes down to either like I'll take a style like romantic Spanish guitar. I could put that on and just have it play in the background, for like an hour straight. And I don't know what the names of the songs are. I just know the sound. So I'm always going for just the sound. And then there's blues, I mean, I love, lately I've gone back to my Stevie Ray Vaughan kick. He's like my love affair with Stevie and the blues continues unabated. So we've had some downtime. We've had some Whitecross downtime. So I've been working on like my solo blues stuff again.
Nice.
It's like whenever the band is not busy, that's sort of my default. Like I revert back to my various blues projects, and I always keep thinking, yeah, I'm just this close to having it together to where I can release an album. But I'm a little bit more serious about that this time. So even as I know Whitecross is going to be busy in 2025. But I'm going to be somewhat more intentional about getting tracks together so I can release new blues music. Like you were saying with the Glenn Kaiser album, everything, our music, even the young kids today. Well, it's a little bit different for kids today. I would have to say that. But if you're an American over the age of, I'll just say 50, 40, your heritage, our American music that is uniquely American is the blues.
Yes.
And that's our contribution to music in the world. And all rock and roll music comes from the blues, and jazz music comes from the blues. So, now kids, younger kids today are, like I imagine some 11-year-old girl who's listening to Taylor Swift all day long. Yeah, that and Olivia Rodrigo and whatever. I don't know. But a lot of the newer music is drawing from a more like different sounds from around the world. So
yes.
So there is that, so it's less uniquely American. But up until like the mid 90s, most of the music, well, if you turn on any rock radio station today, they're still focusing on American rock bands, and most of that sound comes from America. And eventually it all does, in fact, it traces back to the early blues players like Albert King and Freddie King and so forth, and Albert Collins and others. So anyways, so lately my list has been, maybe like Michael Schenker, Philip Sayce, who is I think he's the closest thing probably to Stevie Ray Vaughan. He doesn't play the same riffs, but he has the tone and the fire, and the passionate, the emotional quality to the sound. So that speaks a lot to me, and then it's just bits and pieces of whatever I hear. So mostly a lot of it's just, I've spent more time listening to music. Now I'm at that point in my life where I'm just all mixing it up in my head and regurgitating it, and spitting it back out on my own records for the rest of you to listen to it and dissect it and go, oh, this sucks, and this that guy, or whatever you happen to think. But I'm at that point now. I'm listening less and just, it's all up in there, and it's all stirring around in the blender and trying to get as much of it out as I can.
Cool.
You didn't really go offline because we just did it so we have props so people can see, and it's what we're currently listening to, so people might find it interesting, and it's a good conversation. But you just did that without any physical. That's good.
Yeah, and our whole goal is to promote people that maybe someone hasn't heard of.
Yep.
So you threw out some names for me that I've not heard of, and I'm going to go check them out now.
I'll just throw out those names. I'll throw out the names. If you're really into shred guitar, try Jimmy Bell. If you're really into amazing blues guitar, try Philip Sayce. And if you like just something different, try this new kid. Her name is Laufey. Apparently, she had like the #1 song in the world last year.
Oh,
Sold 500 million copies, and I forgot the name of it already. But the name is Coffee. So, and she's like bossa nova. So, something different.
cool.
And that's the thing. When I was a teenager, y'all remember Beavis and Butthead, right? Cartoon. So so one of the sort of the constructs of that show was, well, you're cool if you like metal, and no poser metal allowed. And I hate, this is like going off the rails a little bit. I hate that they ripped on Kip Winger,
Right.
who has come back, and Beavis and Butthead is long gone, but Kip Winger is an amazing musician. He's a classical composer now. He's getting the last laugh. He's alive and well, and that show was ended years ago. But the thing, when I was a kid, is like, okay, everybody on Friday, everybody wears their black concert T-shirt, and it's like the uniforms of young people. There is no deviation allowed whatsoever. Either you like Aerosmith or Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath or Deep Purple, and no, there is nothing else is allowed, unless you want to be ostracized and excluded from the community of your peers.
Not even Kiss?
Yeah, well, Kiss, I saw Kiss in 1977 with Ace Frehley, and he did the thing. He plays his guitar, and smoke starts coming out of the guitar. He throws the guitar on the ground.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I was like, oh.
I've been listening to Triumph lately. I haven't heard them in a long time.
Them too,
What's the lead guitar player and the singer's name? Because he was good on guitar.
Rick Emmett.
Yeah, he's good. I didn't realize until I watched that Us 83 festival video.
Yeah, phenomenal there. It was the whole band was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw them too. They were like a model of efficiency, and they had the show. They were a big believer in like bombs and rockets and flash pots and explosions and theatrical lighting. They did all of that stuff in the 80s, and they were big, because they used to get tons of airplay. And in 2004, I was an unsigned artist. I didn't have a record deal, so I entered a contest in Guitar Player magazine.
Huh.
And 5 finalists were selected, and I was one of the 5 finalists. And
You won a guitar.
they had, I did win a guitar, and they took us out to Buffalo, New York, of all places, and Rick Emmett was one of the judges.
Oh, wow.
So,
Neat.
so we got to hang with Rick a little bit. That was fun. I came in 3rd place, by the way.
I was just going to say that.
I'm not really good in any kind of like a cutting heads type environment. Like, I always hated going to the blues jam at Buddy Guy's in Chicago, because they have the open jam night, and they start with the house band, does like 2 hours, and then they start bringing the jammers up 2 at a time. So you get no spotlight, and then you have to share with some guy, and his intention is to cut heads, because I think all these guitar players come in with this idea in their head. Oh, at the exact moment when I'm playing my Stevie Ray Vaughan solo, Buddy Guy is going to walk into the club. He's going to see me, and he's going to go, "Who is that guitar player? We must sign him to our record label, and I'm going to be discovered, and I'm going to have a magical life." So they're all playing, everybody's playing to cut heads, and it's not friendly, and competitions are that way too. So it's not a good environment for me. I prefer like vastly prefer to go out and just like do shows with my band.
Yep.
That's like my family.
Yeah.
And we're like a little clan, a little tribe of like-minded individuals, and we rehearse our songs and we know what we're going to do.
Yep.
We come in and we do what we do, and it sounds great, and then that way we can do well and other bands can do well, and everybody has a great time.
It's like a fellowship, like even at Immortal Fest, I've been hearing everybody getting together.
Immortal Fest is all about the rock and roll metal community.
Yep.
Yeah. We are metal. We are family. I mean, that's the motto, I think.
Right. Well, that's the Bob Beeman model.
Bob Beeman model, but I think it kind of translated to Immortal Fest.
Yeah, it did. It has kind of translated that way. I mean, Bob has been there for the last few years. He didn't start the festival. There was some confusion behind the scenes on that. Steve Barhorst started the festival, and then Dorn Ruppert and Darth Plummer, he did a lot of work on it for a couple of years. Lately,
those are the two names I heard.
Yeah.
Lately, Bob Beeman has doing more, but I don't know how much. Bob is kind of like the figurehead. He's an MC, so he gets to come out on stage and introduce the bands, but it's a lot of the legwork is mostly done by Dorn and I Whitecross, we contact the festival directly. So, I'm very pleased to be part of that, and hope to continue with that for a long time.
That'd be cool.
Definitely plan on being there for 25.
Yeah.
Hopefully both weekends.
Yes.
Arguably, and I don't even think I think definitively, you are at a point in your career and in your notoriety that young people would hear you play, and then you would be their inspiration to say, I want to do what that guy does.
Yeah.
So who was your guy? Was there like one musician, or was there a thing? What was the thing that made you realize this is what I want to do?
Well, I was already way along the path to music. When I grew up as a Christian in a Christian family, but there was no Christian music. You got to understand. So, so my jam was Deep Purple. All of my concepts of like, what is a guitar hero supposed to look like? What is a guitar hero supposed to do? That's like Ritchie Blackmore, Deep Purple.
Right.
That, when I was a young person. And when Deep Purple played at the California Jam, which was this huge event, had like 500,000 people. And at one point in the show, he took his guitar like this, and he went right into the camera, and then the picture like shakes, and then it went dark. And I was like, oh, he just took out the camera. And I was like, I was 15 years old, and I was like, man, I want to be the guy who does that. Like, that's my job. So that's, if I had any questions, that was the answer to the question. So after that, there was no looking back, but I had it all planned out. Got to be a big time rock star and own the world and all that. And then when I was 17, I prayed the sinner's prayer and really took it for myself, started walking with the Lord. And then all of a sudden, Christianity gets in the way of your rock star plans. And, I was like, well, this is what I want to do, but what does God want me to do? And it was a very, very big thing for me to come to the point and say, okay, God, I'll be your servant. I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'll do whatever you want me to do, even if that means giving up music. And that was like a big, big thing. Because when you make that, when you're willing to make that sacrifice of whatever it is that you love the most, realizing that, well, he may allow you to keep doing it. He may have other plans for you. He might take it away, and he might not give it back.
Right.
That's a very scary thing. But, Abraham and Isaac, Abraham, God said, offer your son as a burnt offering. And you don't know, it's like, we know what the scripture tells us, but he's taking Isaac out into the, Isaac, next week we're going on this journey out and we're going to go to the mountain. And, all week long he's thinking, that man is, God, do I really have to do this? You don't know what kind of battles he went through inside. Yep. But the bottom line is he did what God told him to do. And then it turns out that God had big plans for Abraham and for Isaac both.
Yep.
Right. So, so so from that point, I started looking for Christian rock music, and there wasn't any. So, well, I guess I'll have to do it. And then Striper came out. I knew about Striper, and I knew about Res Band because I joined a sort of a kind of a folky Christian rock group when I was a student on campus. And Res Band came to our school and we opened for them. And I was like, hey, this is cool because they have a rock band and Glenn's a really cool guy. And Glenn is like, oh yeah, I only got a minute to talk because I have to get back. And then, and then you're like, okay, you're willing to, well, I know you have to go, but then he could keep talking and it's like an hour and a half later and he's still talking. It's just how the man is. He's great. So that was like a sort of a mentally, that was like a template for me in mind. Okay, this is one way that appears to be viable, that you have a Christian rock band of your own. But I was still frustrated because even when they started the Cornerstone Festival, and I used to go to it, and it was the original festival where they would do it in Lake County, Illinois, before they moved down to Bushnell. Illinois, downstate Illinois. That's where most of the people know the festival from. But when they started out, they were about like 25 minutes from my house.
Oh,
wow. So, and it was a smaller festival, so they'd have speakers, authors, philosophers, guys, preachers, different pastors. It's like, wow, all these great people that I want to see and meet and hear them talk. So they would have lectures and talk things. They do all those presentations during the daytime, and then they would start with the music later in the afternoon. So it was perfect for us because we'd go out there during the day, check out the speakers, drive home, eat dinner, go back, and now we have music. It was great. But I remember on the main stage one time, and I had already started the band with Scotty with Whitecross, and we were just rehearsing. This was between like 1985. This is maybe around 86. And the MC comes out on the main stage. These guys are the greatest thing in rock and roll today. And honestly, I don't even remember what the name of the band was. But I saw it. And I go, this sucks. I'm thinking in my head, this sucks. This is not rock and roll. Like Van Halen is rock and roll. Motley Crue is rock and roll. All the 80s hair bands, Dokken, Rat, Winger, Poison. These are all the LA groups, Whitesnake, and Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and all the music I grew up on. All of that. Aerosmith was kind of a taste that I enjoyed their music more later on.
Right.
The thing is, you watch some band and you go, oh, they're not very good. My band's better than that. It's like, oh yeah, well, it's not that good until you try to do it yourself. Well, he's just playing simple chords. So what's the big deal? It's like, again, you put a band together, you get 4 or 5 guys together, you make a sound that captures the imagination of millions of people. You go make a record, you go out and tour it, and you do the shows, and then we'll all sit back and the rest of us will critique how you did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that line in that one AC/DC song, and I'm sorry to keep bringing up all these secular mainstream worldly bands, but that was my world when I grew up. That's what there was. But he goes, it's something about it's a long way to the top if you want to rock.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't as easy as it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I when I was in school, I studied classical guitar, and I'd see videos of Andres Segovia, the guitarist, and it looked like his fingers are hardly even moving because he was so efficient. There's like the minimal amount of movement to get the job done, and so he was able to play all these brilliant pieces. It's like and it looks easy. Like a master at their craft will do what they do, and they'll make it look easy. This is like you hire a plumber to come out and fix your toilet or your bathroom sink or something, and you go, well, that doesn't look that hard. I could have done that. Well, yeah, well, be my guest. Go ahead.
The house is flooded.
And after your house is flooded, then you call the plumber back, and he'll charge you like 3 times.
Oh, speaking of house flooding, remember when you were working on our thing, your basement flooded, your studio?
Yeah, it did. I had right in this room, I had floods.
That's the room. Okay.
It was bad, man. It was not great.
You were all apologetic, and John and I are like, take care of your business.
We had a flood early on, jumping around from topic to topic here. We were working on the new Fear No Evil album.
Okay.
And Danny Ramos, the bass player, was here with me, and we were working on some bass guitar tones. And we spent like 2 hours, just going through different pedals and amplifiers and things, and coming up with a sound that we liked. And I was like, great. Everything was just wonderful. And we said, well, let's go have lunch, and then we'll come back and start recording. So that's a fine plan, So we went out and had lunch, and it's starting to rain out. I come back, and there's just water on the floor everywhere. Like, it turns out there was like a crack in the wall of the house, and so I've had so many issues with the building, but I think, knock on wood, I think those issues are repaired, and everything seems to be working at the moment. So I'm not going to look at the folks in the mouth, but along the way, I've had several setbacks. So that was like a setback for like whenever there's a flood, then everything just shuts down. It's like my whole world shuts down for like 2 to 3 months until the issues are fixed and everything is back up and running. And thank God I haven't lost any of the gear in the studio, any of the recording equipment, but yeah, that's been a thorn in my side for many years, but hopefully, one thing about water, anybody who lives in a house, it's the nature of water is always changing. It's always seeking its own level. So if you don't have any issues in your house right now, that's great, wonderful. Enjoy the moment, because it's not going to last. Check back with me in 6 months and go, well, we had an issue with this, issue with that, appliances break, there's always some, I noticed that the foundation is rotting in a corner here, or there's a tree that fell onto the roof, or
it's always something.
There's always something. So anyways, yeah, that's the studio. So I don't know where we are. I'm just babbling along.
Well, Fierce Heart. So
yes.
So you came from that, and then right from that is when you transitioned over to Whitecross. Am I guessing correctly?
Well, I'll try to keep it concise. Okay.
All right.
So again, 1982. I read in a magazine, Whitesnake has fired both of their guitar players, and they're looking for a replacement. I was like, oh. Did you guys see the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Yeah, I own all 3.
So, when they're like, Marty McFly, come on, Marty, send in your tape to the record company. How are you going to know if you don't send it in? It's like, yeah, I have to do something or else I'll hate myself forever. Because you'll never know. You'll go through the rest of your life. Oh yeah, I remember back then, and you chickened out. You should have done something. You'll never know because you didn't try. So I made a cassette tape of myself playing the guitar. I did like 2 songs, like a generic blues thing, and then I did like a little cover of Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo on a cassette tape. Mailed it to the address on the back of the record cover, which turned out to be Atlantic. It was like the Mirage Atlantic label, which is basically like a division of Atlantic. So I was like, that's done. So at least I'll never have any regret, no looking back saying, gee, I wish I would have done something about that.
Sure.
So about 6 weeks go by and my phone rings, and it's Jim Delahan, who is it's the head of all the A&R at Atlantic. It's number one guy. And so my hands start shaking, and I dropped the phone, and I thought, oh my goodness. I thought it was going to shatter into a million pieces, and it didn't. So I picked up the phone. We resumed the call, and he goes, "Are you in a band right now?" And I'm like, "No." He says, "Well, why don't we build a band around you?" And I'm like what? You guys ever see like movies that are kind of like schlocky movies, like B movies about musicians? They're kind of like made for TV or like straight to Netflix type movies. And you go, yeah, well, in real life, it doesn't happen that way. And clearly, whoever wrote the script for this movie had no actual idea what it's actually like in a musical world. So like my life, how I got started in the music business is like comes out of one of those silly B movies, because it's the way it happened for me is not how it's supposed to happen for anybody. But it just shows, there's for 1,000 successful musicians, there's 1,000 different ways that people get to where they are. So for 2 years, he worked on me and taught me a lot about music and trained me and showed me about songwriting. And they found I was looking for a lead singer and couldn't find one. They found a singer from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And he was, the guy who found him was a guy who was a road manager for Peter Frampton. He was with Humble Pie, and then Peter Frampton went solo, and then he became a huge pop star in like 1975 through 1980. Peter Frampton was like big star. And so the guy who was road managing Frampton at that time, one of his managers, he had a few managers, but this is one of them. So he discovered Larry, the singer, on that album. He brought it to Atlantic, and he knew Jim Delahan. He goes, Jim, I want you to listen to this singer. I think he's really good. And Jim goes, oh, he'd be perfect with Rex. So they hooked us up, and we made a band, and we went to New York. And I had some guys that I was playing with that they didn't want to use. They in retrospect, that was the right decision. They weren't that talented. The wrong decision was because Jim had this idea. He wanted to combine dance mix with a like computer drum recording. Drum machines was like a brand new thing at the time. So he wanted to use this technology on an album, but I had all the heavy hitters from the industry. I had the A&R from Atlantic. I had Peter Frampton's manager. I had Chris Lord-Alge engineering the album, and his brother Tom. And those of you that are in music will know these names. So I learned. I'd never been in a studio before that time, so I learned. I started right at the top, and then I went all the way to the bottom, and I've had to like work my way back up from there. But so we made that album, and it came out, and I learned so many things. I wasn't really ready to, since I was just a kid and I had no experience of being in a band. I wasn't really ready to be like, if that album would have just blown up on the charts and we were on tour and stuff, I was not ready to be like a rock star. I wouldn't have known how to handle it. It was hard enough to handle being in this band and being like the Christian guy in the rock band. So I was just young, just wasn't ready to be in charge of my own life. Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Now, here's a message for people. The entertainment world really needs Christians to be in the entertainment, in the arts, and making. We need Christians to make movies. We need Christians to write songs. We need to be not closed off in our little CCM world. We need to reach the whole world with the good news about Christ. We need to be involved at the mainstream, and we need to be the voice of the culture. And for hundreds of years, that's how it was. It's just in this modern world that we live in, where Christianity is seen as an archaic relic from the past that is like doesn't apply to the modern world. It's like, no, the modern world is really messed up and really needs the message of Christ. And so we need Christians in the arts, but the danger is always, well, you're going to end up making little compromises. And as your success grows in your career, 30 years down the line, you're going to look back and go, oh, well, the world has influenced you more than you've influenced the world. That's always the problem. And so so as an artist, you really just need to understand who you are and have conviction about what it is you're doing, and still be able to relate to people. It's one-on-one. It's just, when I'm talking to like Jim Dollahan, who is the head of all the A&R at his major record company. Atlantic used to be really big, like Sony or Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Is today. So when you're talking to someone who's that high up the food chain, well, it turns out, he's just a dude. And it's like, oh, so we would talk about things. So what do you like to do? He says, oh, I really love movies. Me and my wife, we just go to all weekend and we watch movies. Like, really? So you're just like an average Joe. And I really love music. I'm a fan of music. So that's, well, I started, he started out as a writer, a journalist, doing interviews with artists that he loved their music. And then little by little, he ends up at a label, and next thing you know, he's running the A&R. So that's how things happen. But he's just a regular dude. and the end, the young people are afraid of like the power structure of the industry. First of all, there is no industry. There is no power structure. The power is in you, the artist, and the conviction of your message, to get your message out and to do it your way, learn from people who have done it before. But there is no organized music business. There is the business of music. Many people are engaging in it, but you have as much chance as anybody else. And granted, that chance may be like, a needle in a haystack, but everybody starts out the same way, and you just take advantage of your opportunities as they come up.
Absolutely, Rex. When Dale Thompson said that he would do a song, he did that song, "Your Enemy," that you mixed. That was the very first one that Dale did with us, and our jaws just dropped to the floor. It's like, wow, that was awesome. So, and we're about to put out our 4th album now, which is a blessing.
Great.
Yeah,
great.
Yep.
Great.
It'll be out in February.
Nice. So anyways, I started out with Fierce Heart band, and then after that, I was back home teaching guitar at the local music store, wondering what was going to happen next. And then that's when I met Scotty, and we started. So to set the record straight, Scotty had started a group called White Cross. It was a cover band, and they played songs by Petra. They did a couple of Res Band songs, and we're not going to try like a Phil Keaggy song because that's too hard. That's the band that he had started, and so yes, I strictly chronologically speaking, they had been together for like a few months, and then I came into the band. But when I say things like, I started this band with Scotty, well, I kind of did, because I had this vision of doing like original music, and Scotty and the guys in the band would look at me and they go, you're crazy. What's that all about? You idiot, you got to play songs that people know if you want to get gigs. So they just wanted to be a cover band and have fun and play a few parties, and the band wouldn't have lasted more than a couple more months. Who knows how long it would have gone on, but right. Everybody would have gone on to do other things. So Scotty likes to say, I started that band. Say, well, that's true, but it didn't really become like a band with vision and a purpose until I came in. And then we came to, we were kind of deadlocked. I was like, I'm not going to do any more cover tunes with you guys. I agreed. I'll do like the next 2 gigs on your schedule with your cover tunes, and then after that, we're gonna start working on these songs that I'm working on. And then they said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, all right, well then I'll leave. You guys do your thing. I said it would be a shame to lose such an excellent vocalist, but I'll leave and you guys do what you want. And because I have bigger plans, I have bigger fish to fry. So finally, at the end, they reluctantly agreed. Okay, we'll try it your way. And then, it says once we got into that mindset, and then once we did our first album. So we started the band in 1985. We did our first album in 1987, and I was able to draw from all of that experience. Not that one.
This is the remake.
Yeah, that's the 1987 album, which was done in the year 2005.
Right. That's the one where you guys redid the whole album.
But but that album is at least listenable. The first album came out, technically speaking, it was a mess, but because nobody knew what they were doing as far as at the controls. But we put it out and it just sold like crazy. It turned out it was a sound that people wanted, and so I think it sort of captured what a lot of people were thinking in the back of their mind. Nobody was saying it out loud, but like at Cornerstone Festival, when they're saying like, here's the greatest thing in rock and roll today. And not only myself, but I think everybody else was thinking the same thing. No, it's not. That's not rock and roll. That's not rock and roll. I go home, I turn on MTV. That's rock and roll.
Yep.
I see all the rock bands on MTV. Stryper is a real rock band. Why don't you get Stryper? It's like Stryper's great, but there's only one. There's Stryper. And there's not really anybody else. So now, having said that, there was a couple other guys who had the same idea at around the same time. I know there was Barren Cross, and there was Bloodgood, and there was another group called Messiah Prophet.
Oh, I have that CD.
Yeah, I have it too. Yeah.
Saint was another band. And a lot of these bands came out, and the quality of the music was very uneven. The best groups, in my opinion, sounded like, these guys sound like a competent local cover band that's playing in bars on the weekend. That's just my opinion. But because there's like no money in it, and it's Christian music, people are doing it for the sake of the ministry. They're not doing it to get paid, because you're not going to be a rock star. But some of them, I think they thought that they were going to be rock stars. I don't know. So, and when Whitecross came out, it's like I used to get after my own band. This is the way I think. I go, guys, do you realize, you know how you go through all your favorite bands and you go, yeah, Aerosmith, yeah, they rock. Led Zeppelin, yeah, they rock. How about Kiss? Oh, they suck. I hate Kiss. You know, or whatever band it is that you love to hate. I said, now, do you guys realize that we are that band? Because we weren't very good when we started out. I'm sure all the other bands are like looking at us and they're going, man, those guys suck. Why are they on the stage? You know, my band is better than these guys. It's like, well, we had, you know, I mean, I could play guitar a little bit, and Scotty had a very unique sound in his voice, and we had some songs. And other than that, you know, we couldn't play very well at all. It was embarrassing. So I was always like, everybody practice, practice, practice. And because there was like no money in it, eventually, you know, in our early days, especially, we had a lot of people coming and going. And honestly, guys, it broke my heart. Every time somebody would leave the band, it's like, man, it's killing me. You know, I never wanted to do that. I wanted to always be like the Beatles. You know, it's like the same four dudes, and that's it. And we all grow old together. You know, we have a family. You know, so it always was breaking my heart when somebody would leave. But there's no money, but every time somebody left, we always upgraded the sound, and since the time that Dave has come in to be the lead singer, you know, the last show that Scotty did, I think, was in 2019. It's been a while, so
I think we were at that show. Was that the show you guys did at the BMI? Oh no, that was Rocktoberfest, right?
Honestly, I don't remember.
You did a double bill. It was Striper.
2019 is like 100 years ago in dog years.
Okay.
so or guitar player years.
Guitar player years.
But I know that we went to India, and that was like a huge thing for us to do that. And Scotty didn't want to go. And we said, well, we're going to go. And he just wanted to veto it. And we were like, we just weren't on the same page anymore. We said, no, we have to do this. This is like a once in a lifetime. It's like a sacred opportunity.
Yeah.
So we elected to go. And Scotty said, well, I'm going to veto it. And the rest of us were like, no, we're just, okay, if you don't want to go, we'll get a guest singer and we'll go play the shows. And that, you know, that didn't go over too well with Scotty. So yeah, that was as it turns out, that was it. Because we had reached you know, I mean, that bus, we rode it from 1985 all the way to 2019. And you know, that's longer than most marriages last, right? Sure. That's like multiple lifespans of the average rock band sticks together for 6 months and then it's gone. So it was a really good run, but that bus was done. I mean, there was, you know, we had different goals, different ideas. We weren't on the same page. So we didn't rehearse together. We didn't agree about anything. When we play shows together, we're getting kind of like the Eagles, you know. It's like, well, yeah, well, I'll send an emissary to his dressing room, and then he'll send an emissary from his dressing room. And so we're not really speaking to each other all that much, you know. It's just bad like that. So it's kind of like, maybe it's like Paul and Barnabas, you know. Okay, well, we have, you know, two different ideas about ministry, and they're both good ideas. We're just different personalities, and it's just time to let it be done. And now, as far as I know, Scotty hasn't done anything since that time. I know you guys tried to get him on a project.
Yeah, we had him, but it's just he didn't have the capability of internet stuff, and we couldn't travel back and forth to do stuff.
So. Well, that was always one of my issues. Like, if you're going to be in this as a professional, as a career, you got to invest into yourself and constantly upgrade yourself.
Yep.
And some people do, and some people don't.
We're doing
we're coming
everything.
up on the hour. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're coming up on the hour, and I know we told you an hour. Are you able to stick around a little longer, or is it a hard stop for you?
I'm like Glenn Kaiser, I'll just sit around and chat.
All right, cool. Because I got more questions I wanted to ask.
Until I run out of Pepsi Zero.
All right, cool.
And then I'll grab another one from the fridge. So, yeah. So, so when Dave came in, it was like, Dave is like just totally revitalized the band, and the band is the best thing that's ever happened to Dave. And so we love to be together. We love spending time together. And he's just a hippie at heart. He's like peace, love, groovy. That's his attitude about everything in life. And he gets along with everybody. And he loves the band. And we said, look, we've allowed the band to really lag behind. So we have to get back to rehearsing. And so, now everybody lives in different parts of the country now too. So that's always an issue. So it's like we're all together because we're on the phone and we're always texting each other and everything all day long. But so before any show comes up, we get together like days in advance and we just rehearse. It's just like a sports team, football. Well, you got to do repetitions. You got to keep practicing the same fundamental drills that you did when you were in junior high school. I have to sit and practice skills. So I just have to sit and do that. Well, it's like maybe back in the day, I just get into it and boom, I'm ready to go. Now it takes me an hour to warm up the fingers. It takes longer, and my hearing is not as good as it used to be. And a lot of times listening to guitar actually causes physical pain. It's painful. Really? Yes, it's like, ow, it hurts my ears, like the frequencies hurt my ears. And that's really important for me because I've actually improved as an engineer. I can mix, my skills in mixing are better than ever, as good as they've ever been. But I have to take smaller doses. So if I'm working on your mix, I'm going to work on it for an hour. And then it's like, okay, that's it. I have to stop and, give it a couple hours and I'll come back and do another hour. I can't just sit for 8 hours and mix like some people can. Can't do that because I don't have the stamina for it's the hearing is sensitive. Yeah, but that
makes a lot of sense though. Yeah, because you get, what does my drummer John always say? I had to stop doing it because, and I can't remember the word he uses, but it's what you're describing. Something happens in the ears. You just got to rest a second.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's standing next to a drummer who's bashing away on his crash cymbal.
Michael Fian, Battle Cat.
Yeah, for 40 years. Man, we'd go out on tours and we'd check into a venue at like 3 p.m. and Mike he gets the snare drum up. Oh, the first cannon shot of the day. It's like, oh, that hurt.
Have you seen those earplugs that they have? They're really cool, and they cycle the sound through. You can.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff, and so that by 8 o'clock, okay, they get going, and so we're, there's an opening band, and then we're on like by 9. So somewhere between like 3 in the afternoon and like 9 in the evening, I'm, okay, now I'm ready to go. But it takes a while. It would take a while to wake up,
Yep.
And then, then when you're on tour, when you finish a show, it's like, okay, well, then you go back to the hotel and you go to bed, right? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. because you're all wired up. So I was like, I can't get to sleep until at least 2 o'clock in the morning. You just sit there and, twiddle your thumbs looking at the ceiling. But yeah, so, so the point is that we rehearse because we have to, because I'm older, I have to warm up my guitar. I have to be ready to play, and that's a responsibility. And if some kid, and I know that some young guitar player is listening to me, all right, what's the buzz? I want to live up to some of the hype. Oh, he's not as good as they all said that he is. Well, I try to alleviate some of that. I try to do what I can, but I'll never play like Yngwie Malmsteen, but I would if I could. But then not everybody wants to play like Yngwie Malmsteen either. But anyways, that's the life of a rock and roll musician. So, after that Fierce Heart album came out in 1985, we wanted to do another one, and we had written like 3 or 4 songs that were for some reason rejected by the label. Well, what happened was there was like turnover at Atlantic. And so they didn't want to renew our contract. And I thought, man, these songs, I know they're good songs. So in 2018, 2019, thereabouts, I started a discussion with Dark Star Records, which is a mainstream secular label. But why would you sign with a mainstream secular label? Well, because they like me. They heard that I sent them an email. I said, a friend of mine, a guitar buddy of mine, said, "Oh, well, try these guys." I sent them just a nice "hello, how are you" type email. They called me back on the phone the next day, and they were all over it. They're like, "Listen, we want to do your Fierce Heart album. We want to do your Whitecross albums. We want to do your solo albums." They knew all about me because their A&R guy is in Chicago. He's known. He knew about me. He turns out he went down the list and he told me everything I've ever done in music. Wow. So okay. So it's just nice to go where you're appreciated. So I said, well, as long as the royalty statements are accurate and timely, we can do business for 30 years. And so all the songs that I had written for the second Fierce Heart album that we never got to do, we started with that. So they put that album out. It came out in, I think it was 2020. Yeah, 2020. It's like, oh, well, I did everything right. The album it's a really good album.
It is a very good album.
And all of a sudden, and I kind of wanted the chance just to prove to myself that, yeah, we were right and the record company was wrong. There was a lot of that. And it's like, I wanted to set the score straight. But who knew, some disease in China at the Wuhan lab. Turns out, did you all know that Dr. Fauci is a major investor in the Wuhan lab?
Oh yeah, I know all about good old Dr. Fauci.
He owns stock in it, and then talk about conflict of interest. And then there, it wasn't the virus; it was the response to the virus. Well, we're going to lock down the whole country. So people say, well, during the pandemic, and I correct them. I say, oh, you mean the government lockdowns? Yeah. When you weren't allowed to do anything because of the government lockdowns.
The scamdemic.
Wasn't the pandemic, which turned out to be, it was real. There's no question it was real. There was a married couple in my church. They were on the music team. The guy played the drums and his wife is one of the singers, and they both got COVID at the same time. They both had to go to the hospital. She recovered. He didn't. He passed away. So yeah, COVID is real. It's a real disease.
I had it for 2 weeks. It was bad.
Yeah, I had it 3 times.
I've had it twice myself. The first time was really mild. The second time I had some trouble breathing, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get this. I was kind of scared for like, man, if I can't breathe, take a breath and I'm not getting any oxygen, you feel like you're drowning kind of thing.
Yeah, when I say scamdemic, I'm more talking about the government response and the
scamdemic
of the world. Yeah.
Or the pandemic.
That's what I was going to say.
There's another better word, pandemic.
So, to all of our left of center friends that are listening to you, we still love you. But it's just a free country, and I'm just stating things the way that I see them.
Same here.
Absolutely.
I still love people,
Yeah, and that brings me to my next topic that I want to talk to you about, because you talked about ministry. You said you love people.
Yes,
what's some stories or a standout story of where you've got to minister? You're all over the country. You're meeting people everywhere. What's a standout opportunity that you've had to really minister to somebody and impact somebody's life?
Well, I have a personal theory. I have lots of little Rex rules, and most of them are humorous. For example, one of my humorous little rules is the measure of success in life is how high you have to reach to plug into your amp. And that's a joke for guitar players, and that doesn't even apply anymore because everybody's using digital foot pedals on the floor. Nobody's using actual tube amplifiers anymore. So, but I have so one of my things that I've come up with is in ministry. What I say is showing up is half. And what does that mean? It just means that you're called to a ministry. And what are the usual excuses? I don't have time. I don't know what to do. I'm not competent in this. I'm not a trained Bible scholar. I'd have to go to years of seminary training. I wouldn't know how to be a missionary. Like, no, God is calling you. All you have to do is show up.
Yep.
You show up. That's half. And God, the Holy Spirit, will accomplish the other half.
Right.
Exactly.
He's all. I like to think of everybody. Out of 8 billion people in the world, we're all like little pawns on the chessboard, and God is moving all the pieces around on the chessboard the way that He wants. So, I show up at a concert in Guatemala somewhere, and there's somebody who's attending that concert that God brought to that concert specifically to hear something that either myself or somebody else in the band has to say, or a lyric in a song, or something. But we're, just living your life as a Christian, we're called to evangelize the world. So,
exactly.
I think that everybody needs to do something. I mean, you guys are doing something. You have a podcast happening, and you're promoting the message of Christ into the world through the podcast. That's something. Just imagine if every believing Christian in the United States did something.
Yes.
Most people don't do anything. Well, I can write a check to the missions fund. Nah, it's not enough. It's like, yes, we need you to write the check to support the missionaries, but we also need people to go and preach my gospel to the whole world.
Exactly.
And now I'm terrified every time somebody goes, well, there was something that you said, and I'm like, uh-oh, what did I say? And they say, oh, it really resonated with me, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble now, because I don't remember what I said. And I used to say a lot of really crass kind of things. I got myself in trouble a few times just by opening my mouth and saying, how do you really feel about that? Well, I think that this music sucks. I don't think that guy is very good. I would say things like that,
Right.
And boy, sometimes 2-3 years later, it comes back and you said, I was like, oh, Oh, I guess I did say that, and then then you have to go and apologize. It's like, but what I said was true. They're really not that good, but you offended somebody, and I've noticed with other musicians, with amateur musicians, like church musicians, I have to be very careful about what I say, because if I say something negative, they'll take that. Well, you said, Rex said that I'm not any good, so I'm just going to quit.
Yeah.
And it's like I'll without even, I'll just say something flippant without thinking, and somebody's going to like just hang it up because the pros said that it wasn't any good. So I really tried to in my own life sort of cultivate a personality of being supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say things that are true, even if somebody's like not very good.
Hey, buddy.
What they do, you say, hey man, that's really great, you're showing a lot of progress, and I think it's great what you're doing, and keep working at it. You can always find something nice to say. So a lot of wisdom just goes back to what your mom always used to say: if you can't find anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I have spent my adult years attempting to learn that lesson, and just try to learn how to be, in things that may be obvious, but the mix on that, like the bass frequency is destroying the rest of the mix. Who's the idiot who mixed that thing? You don't have to say things like that, because people will figure it out. The artist will figure it out, and that's a crash. Yeah, very crash. I have been in the past, so I try to. That's what they used to call me, Mr. Crass. That was one of the things that people used to say. So
what a moniker.
I have really trying to learn to, and people are great, and everybody has something to offer. Everybody, I don't care who it is, everybody you meet has some experience, some point of wisdom that they've learned, usually the hard way, right? But everybody has something to offer, and I would certainly hope that I would be. I would say I'd like to be an example in somebody's sermon, and not as opposed to, well, let me give you a sermon illustration. So, the guy who went down the wrong path, and is like, oh, I don't want to be that guy.
Nope.
So, but I'm not going to. I've had times when doing, not thinking about things, and then all of a sudden, you're one-on-one with somebody at a concert somewhere, and somebody says, well, they'll just ask you a very blunt, direct question like, I want to know how to accept Jesus, but I don't know how to do it. Then you have to like step back and go, but then you just got to be real. You do. It's like, well, Romans 10:9, believe in your heart that God's raised him from the dead and confess him as your savior. I just said that backwards, but in reverse order.
Right.
But, and just, know some basics of understand what salvation is and the sinner's prayer, and be real. People, your best asset in ministry is the same thing that is your best asset as a musician, which is your authenticity.
Yep.
There it is.
He's like, well, how do I accept Christ? Well, I've got this, let me just look it up here. I've got this, 5-point plan of salvation, and let me read that. Nobody wants to hear that. Just relate to people and allow them to tell you their story, and pray with them, and God is going to meet them where they're at.
Yes.
and sometimes you don't always know. I've had people back in the old days. We used to get snail mail. Would come into we had an office, and we'd get snail mail come back. And so, oh, what you said at the concert, and I have to think back. Let's see, that was 2 months ago. Which show was that from? And you would find out later how God has impacted people's lives through your songs and your message, and you want to just be authentic. And as a like an 80s rock guitar player, while I can't keep up with, like I said, just today I heard this girl, her name is Laufey. She's like 25 years old, and she's got like the #1 song in the world last year. It's like, wow. And it's like a bossa nova. Has nothing to do with guitar, but then I watched her play electric guitar and she knows all the jazz chords. Like, wow, really great. And it's like, well, I'll never be able to do that because, I'm way too old for that. And that's not the way that I learned how to play guitar. I was like, I'm trying to learn Motley Crue riffs, it's like a different thing. But I can't do that. But the only thing I can do is be authentic to what I do. So people, find, this is my advice to the young musicians. You may be old chronologically, but young in your career. If you are young, if you are chronologically at the early stages of your career as a musician, the best thing you can do is just be authentic to what you're doing. Try to find where you can improve. Allow people to. There's a difference between criticism and people who genuinely care about you as a person. They want to see you do better, so they're offering. You ask them to critique you, and they're offering some input. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we got to put our pride aside and accept input, and there's a difference between that and when people are just being critical. Oh, that sucked. You guys should hang it up. I've heard from many people in the Christian music industry that said that to Whitecross.
Wow.
In our taste, because people didn't understand it. They didn't understand the music or the vocals. Well, that's
something you just said.
Like Gaithers.
Something you just said. What I do, and Paul is one of the guys that I send some music to while I'm writing, and it's like, hey, what do you think of this? So I do have like a little network of people that I trust, that they give me their honest opinion. And I listen to their feedback. So that was cool that you said that.
Yeah. So, and you have to be careful. So again, when you get to be my age, you got to be careful of who do you offer your opinions to, because not everybody, most people are not interested in your opinions. Yeah, Rex, you go do your thing on your guitar. We don't care. They don't care about my music. I don't care about theirs. So why are you even commenting? But the only thing that you have, that when people do see you play in your band at a live show, everybody in the room will pick up on your authenticity immediately. Mm-hmm. And that is the one thing that will come across. And if you're a bunch of posers and you're doing it as an act, people will see right through that, like immediately. 5 seconds into the show, and it's over. It's like, forget it, done. If you are authentic, then then little by little you'll get fans and people. And I get this all the time, because I didn't know I liked your kind of music. I still don't know how I feel about music, but I like you. So your goal is to make personal connections.
There it is. Yeah.
So, that's just some things and little pieces of life along the way.
And stay true to the gospel of Christ and the Bible.
Yeah, good point. When I did the second Fierce Heart album that came out in 2020, this was like half of that album is like new songs, and half of it is like songs that were written in 1986 that we never got to do for a second album. But it was a musical thing that I wanted to do, so we did it. And the very first thing that happened with the label Dark Star, again, secular label, they're excited. They said, well, we want to make a little video for this song. So they made the video. It's like they set it to private and they said, here, have a look at this video. Tell me what you think. And it was an image of I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a sexy girl wearing a bikini. Everything's kind of hanging out, spilling out of the outfit. And I'm like, well, you see. So it's like I called them right back right away. And I said, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, this is the difference between now and 1984. It was like, oh my gosh, this is Atlantic Records. I don't know how to. It was very hard to find my voice and to be authentically who it is that I want to be. You have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then the powers that be, whatever walk of life you're in, there are powers that be. If you're a school teacher, there's the school board, the principal, all these people that are above you. Those people will define you.
Yep.
If you don't know who you are or what you are, they will define it for you, and you will be whatever they tell you to be. See, and in music, it's the same way. So I just called him back. I said, you know what? I said, I appreciate that you're trying to do a video for us. That's awesome. I said, however, I know that this is just asking a lot for, and even though, well, technically you could try to make the argument that there's nothing wrong with this. And, maybe there is or there isn't, but not even to engage that thing. I said, this is going to be a lot for Whitecross fans to, they'll go with me on this if we put this video out, but it's going to really, a lot of people are really it's going to do a lot of mental gymnastics in people. It's like, let's just avoid that. Let's make it so people can enjoy the song. And this is not the image that I want to put across. Boom. He came back 10 minutes later, had a video with a hot street rod car. And I looked at it and said, perfect. See, and it's just as simple as knowing what you are and what you want to project and be true to whatever you are. And then, so as, going down the road with the label, see, once they get to learn things that I like and things that I want to do, then they become, okay, well, we can do this with a different artist, but we're not going to do that with Rex.
Correct.
You see, so it's like, so they're just a partner. So I do what I do, Whitecross does what it does, and we do whatever we want. And, whenever the label doesn't want to support us, but okay, bye. We'll get somebody else, but they do a job, they distribute the album, we do everything else. And it's, we're about whatever we're about. So,
and it seems like they respected you, so everything worked out.
That, and see, so we need, my prayer is that, because I'm not like adopting any of, and they're just like dudes. They're just dudes who need Christ like the rest of this fallen world. So I just pray for them, and I invite you to, and if you're listening, just pray for all of our Dark Star people. They don't even have to know that you're praying for them, but just pray that God will unleash the hounds of heaven.
Yes.
Yep.
Once God unleashes the hounds of heaven, you have no choice. He's going to get you.
Yep.
So
Well said.
All right.
So yeah, what are you working on? What do you want to plug? What do you got coming up that you want to let everybody know about?
Oh boy. Well, gosh, 2024 has been such a fantastic year because we had the album came out, and the album is for me, just artistically and emotionally, it's a smashing success. And we had all the best people working on it. We had John Lowry worked on our vocals. And Dave could tell you stories about working with John Lowry and Susan Smith, our executive producer, and Anthony Fox, our engineer and mastering engineer. Such great people. And everybody at Dark Star did a fantastic job for us too. So I'm just really thrilled with all of that. And then the gigs that we've had, especially in getting to go out and play many shows with Petra. And it feels good to get back out again. We're kind of rebuilding as we go along. So we only have just a couple of dates so far booked for next year. Other than in March, we have a European tour that's to be a couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm here. I'm always here, just working on the riffs and working on the next record. And I got a couple projects in the pipeline, and one that's looking really promising with some all stars. But I'm not going to say anything about who's on it yet, because just it's best to let it cook for a while in the oven, and then when it's ready to come out, we'll bring out the cake.
You and Dale should talk. You and Dale should talk. See if you guys can get a White Cross ride thing.
Yeah. But until then, rock and roll for everybody.
Yes.
Right? So no, I'm just really grateful to all of our fans, and stay in touch with us. whitecrossband.com. See, we used to be in the very early days of the internet, we had the name whitecross.com. But since none of us knew anything about how it worked, there was a bill that showed up in the mail. It's like, you owe $400 for internet hosting. Like, internet hosting, what's that? I have no idea what that is. Nobody paid it. We lost the domain name, and then now I don't know who has it now. For many years, it was like there was a British company that makes hospital scrubs, like just uniforms.
Oh, wow.
For people who work in hospitals, and they're called White Cross uniforms. Like, yeah, okay, well, we lost that. So
is that your new look?
So, anyway, so now we are whitecrossband.com, and hopefully we'll hang on to that for many years. But that's the best place to stay in touch with us. And I'm always on Facebook chatting with people all the time, so I'm easily available. And I just wish everybody has a wonderful Christmas, and everybody's going through a hard time somewhere at some point in your life. So I just pray that God will meet you at whatever your need is right now, and that you will just give it over to the Lord and be fully reconciled with God's plan in your life in that area. In Jesus' name, amen. And bless you, everybody. And that's it. We'll see you out there.
Thanks for being on our show with us. This is really cool. Lots of stories.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you the next.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.